Tonight we're going to tell you about a place so brutal and horrific it's hard to believe it actually exists. It is, by all accounts, a modern-day concentration camp, a secret prison hidden in the mountains 50 miles from North Korea's capital, Pyongyang. It's called Camp 14, and according to human rights groups, it's part of the largest network of political prisons in the world today. Some 150,000 people are believed to be doing hard labor on the brink of starvation in these hidden gulags. But it's not just those who have been accused of political crimes. It's their entire families, grandparents, parents, and children, a practice called 3 generations of punishment. Very little was known about Camp 14 until a young man showed up in South Korea with an extraordinary tale to tell. His name is 신동혁, and he said he'd not only escaped from Camp 14, but he was born there. He's believed to be the only person born and raised in the camps who's ever escaped and lived to tell about it.
The story will continue in a moment.
Did anybody ever explain to you why you were in a camp?
No, never. Because I was born there, I just thought those people who carry guns were born to carry guns. And prisoners like me were born as prisoners.
Did you know America existed?
Not at all.
Did you know that the world was round?
I had no idea if it was round or square.
Camp 14 was all that 신동혁 says he knew for the first 23 years of his life. These satellite images are the only glimpse outsiders have ever gotten of the place. 15,000 people are believed to be imprisoned here, forced to live and work in this bleak collection of houses, factories, fields, and mines surrounded by an electrified fence. Growing up, did you ever think about escaping?
That never crossed my mind.
It never crossed your mind?
No, never. What I thought was that the society outside the camp would be similar to that inside the camp.
You thought everybody lived in a prison camp like this?
Yes.
Shin told us that this is the house where he was born. His mother and father were prisoners whose marriage, if you could call it that, was arranged by the guards as a reward for hard work. Did they live together? Did they see each other every day?
No, you can't live together. My mother and my father were separated, and only when they worked hard could they be together.
Did they love each other?
I don't know. In my eyes, we were not a family. We were just prisoners.
How do you mean?
You wear what you're given, you eat what you're given, and you only do what you're told to do. So there's nothing that the parents can do for you, and there's nothing that the children can do for their parents.
This may be a very dumb question, but did you even know what love was when you were, for the first 23 years of your life?
I still don't know what that means.
Love may have been absent, but fear was not. In this building, a school of sorts, Shin says he watched his teacher beat a little girl to death for hoarding a few kernels of corn, a violation of prison rules which he and the other students were required to learn by heart.
If you escape, you would be shot. If you try to escape or plan to escape, you would be shot. Even if you did not report someone who was trying to escape, you would be shot.
The shootings took place in this field, he says. The other prisoners were required to watch. As frightening as the executions were, Shin considered them a break from the monotony of hard labor and constant hunger. The prisoners were fed the same thin gruel of cornmeal and cabbage day in and day out. They were so hungry, Shin says, they ate rats and insects to survive. So for 23 years, you were always hungry?
Yes, of course. We were always hungry. And the guards always told us, through hunger you will repent.
What Shin and his family were repenting for probably dates back to the Korean War, when 2 of his uncles reportedly defected to the South. Shin believes that's why his father and grandfather were sent to Camp 14 and why he was supposed to live there until he died. North Korea's first dictator, Kim Il-sung, instituted this practice of 3 generations of punishment back in the 1950s.
The idea is to eliminate this lineage, to eliminate the family, on the theory that if the grandfather was a counter-revolutionary, the father and the grandsons would be opposed to the regime as well.
David Hawk is a human rights investigator who's interviewed dozens of former prisoners and guards from the 6 political prison camps operating in North Korea today.
The largest number of people in the prison camps are those who are the children or grandchildren of people considered to be wrongdoers or wrong thinkers.
I've never heard of anything like that.
It's unique in the 20th or 21st century. Mao didn't do it. Stalin didn't do it. Hitler, of course, tried to exterminate entire families. But in the post-World War II world, it's only Korea that had this practice.
North Korea denies it has any political prisons, but refuses to allow outside observers to inspect Camp 14 and other sites. There's no way to verify all the details of Shin's story. Do you believe his story?
Oh, sure. His story is consistent with the testimony of other prisoners in every respect.
There's also physical evidence he carries around with him to this day. The tip of his finger is missing. He says it was chopped off as punishment when he accidentally broke a machine in a prison factory. He also has serious scars on his back, stomach, and ankles, which he was willing to show us, but embarrassed to show on camera. He says he received those wounds here in an underground torture center. He was tortured because his mother and older brother were accused of trying to escape. He was just 13 years old at the time. Did they think that you were involved in the escape?
I'm sure they did.
How did they torture you?
They hung me by the ankles, and they tortured me with fire. And from the scars that I have, the wounds on my body, I think they couldn't have done more to me.